That night at the Cal-Neva Lodge, even the wise guys packing heat held their breath. When Frank Sinatra flipped that heavy mahogany table, it wasn't a show of power. He was trying to shield Marilyn from the wolves sitting at his own dinner party. But when she appeared in the doorway, soaked to the bone with mascara running down her cheeks like black tears, Frank saw the terrifying truth in her eyes. It was already too late to save her. The air in the private VIP lounge was thick enough to cut with a knife, a suffocating blend of expensive Havana cigars and heavy cologne. The storm raging outside was nothing compared to the tension inside. Frank Sinatra sat at the head of the table, but tonight he didn't look like the chairman of the board. The usual mischievous sparkle in his blue eyes was gone, replaced by the nervous alertness of a deer watching a predator. He loosened his tie, gripping his glass of Jack Daniels so hard his knuckles turned white. At the other end, shrouded in shadow, sat Sam Giancana, the boss of the Chicago outfit. Momo, the hand that had lifted Frank's career to the stars, was now rhythmically flicking a gold lighter. Click, click, click. The sound echoed in his head like a ticking bomb. "Is she coming or not, Frankie? You know I don't like to wait." Frank swirled the ice in his glass. "The weather is bad, Sam. Roads might be closed. Maybe she won't make it tonight. She'll come. If you call, she comes. That blonde can't say no to you." He glanced at his bodyguard, who suddenly adjusted his jacket. The distinct rasp of gunmetal against leather whispered through the room. Frank swallowed hard. This wasn't a friendly weekend getaway. This was a collection day. Marilyn knew secrets she shouldn't. The whispers from the Kennedy brothers, the pillow talk from the White House. Giancana wanted to silence her or perhaps use her as leverage against Washington. Either way, Marilyn wasn't coming to this table as a guest. She was coming as collateral. "She is not to be touched, Sam," Frank said, his voice surprisingly firm. "We just talk. That was the deal." Giancana laughed, blowing smoke into Frank's face. "You just sing your songs, Frankie. Let us handle business." Just then, the heavy oak doors burst open. The wind howled into the room, making the candles flicker. The silhouette in the doorway wasn't the glittering star the world adored. Marilyn Monroe stood there, looking like a ghost draped in a soaking beige trench coat. Her platinum hair was plastered to her skull, the famous curls flattened by the rain. Her face, that face that had sold millions of magazines, was pale and haunting. Dark circles under her eyes were visible even beneath the thick layer of makeup. She was swaying, barely able to stand. She looked as if she were carrying the weight of the entire world on her shoulders. When she stepped inside, the atmosphere shifted. The mob bosses, the hitmen, they all fell silent. America's dream was standing before them, but the dream was turning into a nightmare. Without making eye contact, Marilyn stumbled toward the bar. The squeak of her wet shoes on the parquet floor was the only sound in the room. "Norma Jean." Frank jumped up, taking a step toward her, but she raised a hand to stop him. "Pour me a drink, Frank," she said. Her voice sounded like broken glass, jagged, sharp, and dangerous. "Just give me something to make it stop." Frank shot a desperate glance at Sam. The mob boss was leaning back, smiling like a crocodile watching a wounded gazelle. A broken Marilyn was useful to him. A weak Marilyn could be controlled. Frank went behind the bar, his hands trembling as he poured a glass of vodka. As he handed her the bottle, he whispered, "You shouldn't have come, baby. You need to leave, now." Marilyn snatched the glass from his hand. Her eyes locked onto his. In that moment, Frank noticed how dilated her pupils were. The pills. Those damn pills again. "Where is left to go, Frankie?" she whispered, a bitter smile touching her lips. "The White House closed its doors. The studio fired me. Joe wants to put me in a mental ward. And I thought this was the only safe place left." Frank's heart sank. He was the one who had invited her into this lion's den. He had bowed to Sam's pressure. The weight of betrayal crushed him. "Let's sit," Sam barked from the table. "Let the blonde bombshell join the party." Let's pause the scene for just a heartbeat. If you can feel the loneliness hiding behind the glitter right now, join us by gently hitting that like button. This simple act helps us remind the world that Marilyn wasn't just an icon, but a human being of flesh and blood. If you're ready, let's step back into that smoky room. When Marilyn sat down, the men around her seemed to strip her with their eyes. Sam Giancana wiped his mouth with a napkin and leaned forward. "Tell us about your friends, Marilyn," Sam said, his tone mocking. "Those handsome friends in Washington. What do you know about them?" Marilyn downed the vodka in a single gulp and slammed the empty glass onto the table. "They aren't my friends," she said, her voice suddenly rising. "They are just users." "Is that so?" Sam pulled a folder from under the table. It contained photos, grainy surveillance photos. "These pictures say otherwise." Marilyn looked at the photos. Her hands began to shake uncontrollably. Her breathing turned shallow. A panic attack was setting in. Frank couldn't take it anymore. "Enough, Sam," he shouted. "You said no business tonight, no interrogation." "Sit down, Singer." Sam's bodyguards reached inside their jackets. Marilyn started to laugh, a hysterical, unstoppable laugh that chilled the bone. "You're all the same," she said, pointing a trembling finger at each man. "Bobby, Jack, you, Sam, even you, Frank. You all think I'm just a piece of meat, a doll that talks, sings, and smiles on command." She reached out and grabbed the full bottle of whiskey in front of Frank. She raised it to her lips. In that split second, Frank made his choice, risking his career, his life, everything. He lunged. He slapped the bottle out of Marilyn's hand. Smash. The bottle hit the floor, shattering into 1,000 pieces. Amber liquid and glass shards spread across the expensive rug. The room froze. Sam Giancana stood up slowly. The smile was gone. This was the ultimate disrespect to a Don. "Get her out of here," Sam said, his voice like ice. "And Frank, you're going to pay for this." Frank didn't even hear him. He had grabbed Marilyn by the shoulders and was shaking her. "Wake up. They're going to kill you, Norma. They're going to destroy you." Marilyn collapsed into Frank's arms. "I'm already dead, Frankie," she whispered, her voice fading. "They just forgot to bury me." Frank carried the semi-conscious Marilyn out of the room, past the stunned guards, and into bungalow number 5. When he laid her on the bed, the storm outside had intensified. Lightning illuminated the room in brief, harsh flashes. Marilyn was delirious. "They won't answer the phone. Why won't they answer?" Frank went to the bathroom, soaked a towel in cold water, and returned to wipe her forehead. Her makeup was gone, revealing the vulnerable face of a child. Marilyn opened her eyes. Her vision was blurred from the drugs. "Frank? I'm here, baby. I'm right here." "Why didn't they love me?" she asked. The question wasn't directed at a lover, but at the universe itself. "I just wanted to be loved. Not under the lights. I wanted to be loved in the dark." Frank choked back tears. He leaned down and kissed her forehead. "We love you, Norma. I love you." Marilyn gave a sad, knowing smile. She placed a cold hand on Frank's cheek. "You love Marilyn, Frank. You don't even know Norma Jean. No one does." She closed her eyes and drifted into a deep, ragged sleep. Frank sat by her side until dawn, gun in hand, guarding the door against any intruders. But he knew the real enemy wasn't coming through the door. It was already inside her mind, a darkness that no bullet could stop. The next morning, when Frank woke up, the bed was empty. On the pillow, there was only a lipstick stain and a crumpled piece of paper. A note hastily scrawled on Cal-Neva Lodge stationery. "Thanks for trying to be my hero, Frankie, but getting caught in the hail while running from the rain is my destiny. Don't come after me." Frank ran outside. The parking lot was empty. She was gone, flown back to that lonely house on 5th Helena Drive in Los Angeles. Frank knew then, this wasn't a goodbye. This was the end. 1 week later, August 5, 1962, Frank was in his kitchen, coffee in hand, when the radio broke the silence. Marilyn Monroe has been found dead in her Los Angeles home. Frank dropped his cup. It shattered on the floor, but he didn't hear the sound. All he could hear was the roar of the storm from that night, and Marilyn's final words, "I'm already dead, Frankie. They just forgot to bury me." That night at the Cal-Neva Lodge was the night Marilyn truly surrendered her soul. Her body was just found a week later. To the end of his days, Frank Sinatra never forgot that night, the whiskey bottle he smashed, or the blonde girl he couldn't save. Whenever he sang "My Way," that faraway look in his eyes was perhaps him seeing the ghost in Bungalow 5, because some tabs can never be settled. And the curtain falls. If this story touched a place in your heart, if you were able to glimpse the real face behind the mask, stay with us on this nostalgic journey by subscribing. Have you ever had moments in your own life where everyone thought you were happy, but a storm was raging inside? Share it with us in the comments, because here we don't just talk about stars, we talk about souls. Until the next story, where we'll trace the path of another memory, goodbye.